The times where people ignore the red flags and say, let's just keep pushing, those are the times where you fail. The majority of things that we're buying are created by men. You always learn more from your failures than you do your successes. I love creating, and I think that as women, you're not often given authorship, yet women represent 85% of people making purchases in homes across all categories.
Blake Lively's sudden disappearance from the country has sent shockwaves through the industry, igniting a frenzy of speculation. The entertainment world was already drowning in controversy, but this was next-level chaos. For months, whispers of tension between Blake and director Justin Baldoni simmered behind the scenes, fueled by leaked texts, cryptic exchanges, and shifting allegiances. But no one expected this. Blake bolting out of the country on the very same day, Justin unleashed fresh damning evidence. One minute, she was here. The next, gone. In a time when a single rumor spreads faster than an official statement, her abrupt exit had everyone asking, was she running from accountability? Protecting her privacy? Or both? This storm has been brewing since the earliest days of Justin's passion project, a film that had everyone buzzing thanks to his reputation for crafting deep, emotional stories. Blake's casting? A no-brainer. She's known for delivering polished performances and effortlessly charming audiences. At first, everything seemed golden. Justin gushed about her energy, and Blake played along, making lighthearted comments about how fulfilling the role was. No red flags, no warning signs. But then, things started to shift. Behind the scenes, murmurs turned into full-blown whispers. Crew members couldn't help but notice the cracks forming. Blake, normally known for her easygoing nature, appeared noticeably tense around Justin. And it wasn't just any tension. Justin wasn't just directing, he co-wrote the script and was set to star. Was his overwhelming control making it hard for Blake to breathe? Over time, it became impossible to ignore. Something was definitely off. Something in Blake's demeanor had shifted. Subtle at first, but impossible to ignore. Her usual charm seemed dimmed. She'd toss out lukewarm remarks about Justin's intensity, or flash quick, unreadable glances whenever he soaked up praise. At first, fans brushed it off. Creative tension happens, right? A demanding director, a high-profile actress, nothing unusual. But then, the headlines turned nasty. Suddenly, Blake was being painted as difficult, aloof. The whispers behind the scenes were spilling into the press. Blake didn't stay silent. She hit back. Hard. She accused Justin of pulling the strings, using his influence to control the media and tarnish her image just to tighten his grip on creative decisions. And in an era where people are more aware than ever of media manipulation, her claims hit a nerve. Was she being silenced? Was this yet another case of a powerful man shutting down a female lead's voice? For a while, the public seemed to rally behind her. Many saw this as part of a bigger issue. How often do male directors overshadow their female leads? The narrative was gaining momentum, until Justin countered with receipts. Unredacted text messages, pages and pages of them, and they told a very different story. Instead of ignoring Blake, Justin had been constantly checking in with her, seeking feedback, tweaking the schedule to fit her needs, even reshuffling key elements of the production to accommodate her preferences. The image of a domineering director crumbled, replaced by one of a man genuinely trying to collaborate, only to be met with unexpected hostility. And then, fans caught something else in those messages. A bombshell. Scattered throughout the exchanges were references suggesting Blake had threatened to leverage her influence, and that of her Hollywood powerhouse husband, Ryan Reynolds, if Justin didn't start bending to her ideas. After poring over the leaked messages, fans started to rethink everything. Had the media been played? Had Justin been unfairly painted as an overbearing director when, in reality, the power struggle ran much deeper? As the tension between Blake and Justin reached a boiling point, a new player entered the conversation. Ryan Reynolds. Blake's texts had mentioned him a lot, and not just as a supportive husband, but as one of her dragons. The term was never fully explained, but it clearly suggested she had powerful forces she could summon when things didn't go her way. Naturally, the internet went wild. Was Ryan pulling strings behind the scenes? Had he used his massive influence and signature humor to subtly guide public opinion against Justin? But just as speculation around Ryan was reaching fever pitch, the real bombshell dropped. Blake's own attorney suddenly resigned, and not just quietly, they issued a cryptic statement hinting that Blake's claims didn't align with the actual documented facts. What? In Hollywood, attorneys don't just walk away from high-profile cases unless something serious is brewing. Usually, they work behind closed doors to manage crises, not publicly cast doubt on their own client's story. That alone was enough to send shockwaves through the industry. But then, Justin struck again. He had warned that if Blake kept pushing the manipulative director narrative, he'd reveal even more context. And true to his word, he dropped a fresh stack of receipts. Text messages, emails, conversations spanning the entire production, from day one of pre-production to the moment cameras stopped rolling. And this time, they didn't just defend Justin, they completely flipped the script. Not only did the messages prove Justin had been thoughtful and collaborative, but they showed him repeatedly trying to smooth things over with Blake, encouraging her to speak up, asking for her thoughts, making space for her voice. The new messages painted a very different picture. Justin wasn't the domineering figure some had made him out to be. Far from it. Time and time again, he apologized for missteps, adjusted schedules to accommodate Blake, and actively sought her creative input. According to crew members who later spoke anonymously, the set felt collaborative, for months, at least on Justin's end. But then came the real shocker. Certain messages from Blake herself surfaced, private exchanges with confidants that hinted at something far more calculated. These weren't just venting sessions. They suggested she was strategizing, deliberately waiting for the right moments to expose supposed issues with Justin's leadership. And what was her angle? Timing. In these leaked messages, she appeared to be weighing when to drop bombshells about postpartum struggles and production safety concerns, coinciding with major promotional milestones. The implication? Her allegations could eclipse Justin's positive press, keeping her in control of the film's public narrative. While there was still no direct proof that Ryan was involved, the same cryptic terms popped up. My circle! Her dragons! Once again, it seemed clear. Blake believed she had powerful forces ready to back her up. And then, she vanished. The moment these receipts hit the public, Blake disappeared. Suddenly, reports flooded in. Multiple engagements canceled, no explanation. Even a key promotional event for a completely different project? Scrapped. Her management team? Silent. The industry? Buzzing with questions. Then came the leaks. Flight manifests showed she boarded a private jet, traveling light, with only a skeleton entourage. Within hours, photos surfaced. There she was, hiding out in an airport lounge, dark sunglasses, hat pulled low, posture stiff. No signature wave, no casual charm, no effortless banter with fans. The internet was in chaos. Blake's sudden disappearance only fueled more speculation. Was she dodging legal trouble? Was she genuinely shaken by the firestorm of backlash? Or was this a carefully calculated move? A retreat before the storm hit even harder? Public opinion fractured. Some fans sympathized, arguing that regardless of the new evidence, the sheer force of the public scrutiny had to be overwhelming. Even if parts of her story didn't hold up, wasn't the pressure enough to break anyone? Others weren't buying it. If Blake was confident in her version of events, why disappear now? Wouldn't the smarter move be to confront Justin's receipts head-on rather than vanish just as the controversy reached a boiling point? To many, the timing looked suspicious. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni broke his silence. His response? Measured, but unmistakably firm. He doubled down on his original stance. His priority all along had been preserving the creative integrity of the film and defending his professional reputation. He expressed regret that things had spiraled so drastically that Blake felt compelled to leave. But at the same time, he made one thing clear. If these latest messages were real, then the real source of the negative spin was undeniable. And then there was Ryan Reynolds. Already under scrutiny for his rumored behind-the-scenes role in tanking Justin's image, Ryan now had an even bigger problem, the fallout from Blake's sudden exit. The internet buzzed with questions. Would he follow her abroad? Would he stay behind to control the damage? Or was he already working on the next move? One thing was certain, this wasn't over, not even close. The whispers turned into a full-blown storm. Ryan Reynolds, normally the king of lighthearted PR, was now in damage control mode. Rumors swirled that he was scrambling behind the scenes, making frantic calls to PR firms and legal advisors, desperate to contain the fallout. His worst nightmare was unfolding in real time. The headlines weren't about his signature humor or upcoming blockbusters anymore. Instead, they were littered with damning text messages, speculation about his role in Blake's media tactics, and questions about just how deep his involvement went. And then, TJ Miller re-entered the chat. The actor, who had already stirred the pot with earlier claims about Ryan's behind-the-scenes influence, suddenly went silent. No new revelations, no dramatic statements, just one pointed remark. At this point, the evidence speaks for itself. For TJ, this was vindication. When he first spoke out, people doubted his motives. But now, Justin's receipts seemed to line up with what he'd been saying all along, especially the allegations about orchestrated media leaks, well-timed PR moves, and a calculated effort to sabotage Justin's film from within. Hollywood was watching. Industry insiders couldn't believe the scale of the meltdown. Blake and Ryan. Once Hollywood's golden couple, adored for their effortless banter and picture-perfect brand, were now caught in a reputational firestorm that could burn more than just one film. Some producers were already reconsidering future projects with them, because in this business, perception is everything. When two A-listers are suspected of secretly working to tear down a director, studios start getting nervous. Trust is key. And once an actor's behind-the-scenes behavior seems too unpredictable, they go from being an asset to a high-risk liability. The theories ran wild. Was Blake's sudden flight simply self-preservation? A desperate move to escape the feeling of being shunned and isolated? Or was it something far more strategic? A calculated retreat to dodge intensifying scrutiny and the looming threat of legal trouble? If Justin, or anyone else, chose to pursue defamation claims, was she trying to get ahead of it? The internet had a field day. Conspiracy theories flooded social media. Was she secretly regrouping with Ryan in a hidden, ultra-secure location? Planning a scathing tell-all that would flip the narrative yet again? No hard evidence confirmed any of it, but that didn't stop the speculation. Meanwhile, on Justin's film set, the mood had shifted. For months, the crew had watched their hard work overshadowed by scandalous headlines and damaging rumors. But now, they felt relief. With Justin's extended text logs out in the open, many believed that the truth had finally surfaced. Frustration had been building behind the scenes. Small conflicts on set? Sure, that's normal on any demanding production. But nothing they had witnessed justified the media circus that erupted over Justin's so-called inattentiveness. By exposing the full conversations, Justin hadn't just defended himself, he had vindicated the crew. Those who had quietly stood by him, hesitant to speak out for fear of not being believed, now felt justified. But as Justin reclaimed his narrative, the question remained, where had Blake disappeared to? Fan sightings trickled in. Social media posts placed her in a posh European city, one known as a discreet sanctuary for A-listers in crisis. One luxury hotel employee reportedly spotted someone who looked suspiciously like Blake. Dark sunglasses, hat pulled low, checking in under an alias. Paparazzi swarmed, but she was nowhere to be found. The mystery deepened. If she truly wanted to disappear, would she retreat even further, vanishing into a quiet, paparazzi-free sanctuary? Or was she plotting her comeback, waiting for the dust to settle before re-emerging with a carefully crafted explanation, ready to spin the story one last time? The chaos left Hollywood rattled. Just months ago, Blake Lively seemed untouchable, praised for her effortless charm, viral humor, and picture-perfect public image. She was the industry's golden girl, beloved, admired, and seemingly immune to controversy. Now, that illusion was crumbling. Her sudden flight, timed almost too perfectly with Justin's release of damning evidence, felt like a final act, a closing statement that overshadowed everything else. Brand deals, future roles, social media adoration, all now hanging in the balance. Because in Hollywood, power shifts fast. One moment, an A-lister is adored. The next, their empire is cracking under the weight of strategic leaks and media spin. The glitzy facade of collaborative artistry? It disappears the second the cameras turn to behind-the-scenes manipulation. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni wasn't backing down. With all eyes on him, he doubled down on his commitment to the film. No amount of scandal was going to derail it. The project would be completed. It would be released. And the controversy? It wouldn't define it. In interviews, Justin stayed focused. He acknowledged the media frenzy but made one thing clear. The story they set out to tell still mattered. And he wasn't alone. The cast had his back. One by one, actors stepped forward, praising Justin's leadership, his patience, his ability to navigate the storm without losing sight of the work. Some even called the entire scandal a wake-up call, a lesson in the manipulative power of celebrity. A reminder that when egos, PR strategies, and hidden agendas take center stage, true creative work gets lost. And Hollywood had just witnessed it firsthand. Where does this leave Blake Lively? If she thought disappearing would make the storm die down, she might have miscalculated. Justin's latest batch of receipts didn't just reignite the fire, they turned it into a full-blown inferno. Instead of fading away, the conversation keeps gaining momentum. Now, the speculation is endless. Will Blake attempt a carefully crafted PR comeback in a few months? A tearful sit-down interview? A statement of clarification about those now infamous text messages? A plea for understanding? Or will she stay in the shadows, waiting for Hollywood to move on to its next scandal before quietly resurfacing? Then there's Ryan Reynolds. With Blake reportedly hiding out overseas, far from the reach of paparazzi, the question remains, will he stay put and take the heat alone? Or will he slip away too, turning this from a messy controversy into what looks like a full-scale escape plan? Because if he vanishes now, it won't just be a bad look. It will cement the perception that this was all carefully orchestrated. And people are already talking. Why won't he address the dragons reference? Why is Hollywood's golden funny man suddenly so silent when it comes to the very claims that put his wife under scrutiny? Even TJ Miller had more to say. After watching the dust settle from his own bombshells, he confirmed that some of the newly leaked messages lined up with things he had heard, but never had proof of before. For TJ Miller, the revelations were bittersweet. On one hand, Justin's extensive text logs finally gave him the corroboration he had been missing. Solid proof that backed up his claims, turning whispers into indisputable fact. But TJ was quick to clarify. This was never about stirring chaos or pointing fingers at everyone. His goal? Transparency. In interviews, he admitted feeling conflicted. He didn't take pleasure in Blake's sudden departure, but he stood firm. Her downfall wasn't the result of any personal vendetta from him or Justin. It was a consequence of her own behind-the-scenes maneuvers. Now, the industry is left wondering, how long will the fallout last? Hollywood loves a comeback story. Some insiders believe that, given enough time, Blake might attempt a carefully crafted redemption. A public reckoning, a raw, emotional interview, a reinvention of her image. But there's one massive problem: Justin's receipts. The sheer volume of detailed, time-stamped messages makes any simple rehabilitation almost impossible. If the logs truly expose a pattern of manipulation, how does Blake reconcile that with the charming, relatable persona she built over the years? Will fans and Hollywood buy into any comeback attempt? Some industry voices suggest that Blake's abrupt exit could, ironically, work in her favor. The entertainment world is brutal, and the psychological toll of a massive public scandal is undeniable. To some, her disappearance isn't an admission of guilt, it's survival. A desperate attempt to escape the relentless media circus before it crushed her completely. But that subtlety might be drowned out by the more dominant narrative, one that paints her flight as a silent confession. And in the end, this entire saga proves one thing. In Hollywood, alliances are only as strong as the secrets they protect, because once private messages go public, everything changes. Justin Baldoni's message has remained consistent. Calls for civility, reassurances that he holds no grudges, and an unwavering focus on protecting the integrity of his film. In an industry increasingly exhausted by celebrity meltdowns, his approach has struck a chord. But while no one can say for certain whether the leaked text messages were the final push that sent Blake into exile, the timing makes one thing clear. They played a major role. Once a red carpet icon, celebrated for her effortless charm and playful wit, Blake's name now carries a different weight. Instead of being tied to glamour and lighthearted banter, it's entangled with controversy, strategic PR moves, and a stunning, unexplained disappearance. And as the days stretch into weeks, Hollywood watches. Fans scour social media, waiting for any sign of life. Will she break her silence with a carefully worded statement? Will a paparazzi shot surface, capturing her in some secluded luxury retreat? Or will she let the mystery deepen, allowing speculation to take over? With no clear answers, theories run wild. Some paint her as a mastermind, orchestrating every move in a long game of reputation control. Others see her as a cornered star, overwhelmed and retreating under the weight of public scrutiny. Meanwhile, Justin keeps moving forward. With his film nearing completion, he hopes the work itself will reclaim the headlines. But TJ Miller? He's still watching. He's made it clear, if Blake or anyone else tries to rewrite the narrative, he's ready to speak out again. And so, the saga isn't over. Instead, it stands as a cautionary tale, a brutal reminder that in Hollywood, the same carefully crafted illusions that build stars up can just as easily send them into exile. All it takes is one set of receipts. Blake Lively's sudden disappearance serves as a harsh lesson. In Hollywood, truth is never set in stone. Perception rules everything, and it can flip in an instant. One moment, you're the beloved face of a blockbuster film, a star in control of the narrative. The next, you're slipping onto a private jet, hoping miles of distance will silence a storm built on leaked messages, damning revelations, and a director unwilling to let carefully spun distortions overshadow the work. But will the distance actually help? Or will it just keep the mystery alive? This story is far from over, so let's hear from you. What do you think? Is Blake planning a major comeback? A quiet rebrand? Or is this the beginning of Hollywood's next redemption arc? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay locked in for the next chapter of this wild saga. See you on the next one!